Although it sounds like something from a movie, scientists have just revealed that they plan on using mosquitoes like flying syringes and said they will start administering crucial malaria vaccines. According to a recent report, individuals participating in a clinical trial recently had their arms enclosed in mesh containers containing 200 mosquitoes. The outcome of this experiment was quite surprising, as one participant experienced the formation of red, elevated blisters on their entire forearm, resembling chemical burns. Photos may possess the power to convey a myriad of meanings, and while photographs are certainly intriguing, the research conducted on this latest technique holds equal significance. Recently, a group of scientists from the Seattle Children's Research Institute, the National Institutes of Health, and other establishments shared their discoveries in the August publication, Science Translational Medicine, shedding light on the underlying approach behind the phenomenon. The researchers genetically modified the mosquitoes by introducing the Plasmodium falciparum parasites. Unlike previous attempts at creating malaria immunization using parasites, this is the first time this technology has been employed to modify the parasites in a way that allows them to carry malaria without causing illness in humans. According to University of Washington, Seattle researcher Sean Murphy, mosquitoes are like 1,000 tiny flying syringes that they will utilize in their research. Throughout the research, out of the total 26 participants, 14 individuals were exposed to malaria, and approximately half of them acquired the disease. This implies that the current effectiveness of the method stands at approximately 50%, indicating potential for enhancement. Contrary to expectations, researchers explained that the objective is not to release a large number of mosquitoes that protect against malaria instead of transmitting it. This proposition is certainly fascinating, but it would give rise to significant concerns regarding bioethics and medical consent. Rather than stating it outright, they have mentioned that they are simply investigating a potentially economical approach for creating and distributing immunization. A United States company has announced that it plans to release 2.4 billion genetically modified mosquitoes into the wild. The insects, which have been developed by biotech company Oxitec, will be male individuals that do not bite and are genetically modified to only produce male offspring that are capable of reproducing, as stated by the company. The Environmental Protection Agency has given approval for the release of 2.4 billion genetically modified mosquitoes in California and Florida. These mosquitoes, developed by biotech company Oxitec, are non-biting male mosquitoes that have been genetically engineered to ensure that their offspring are only male and capable of reproducing. Oxitec claims that this approach will help decrease the population of the invasive Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which are known carriers of diseases such as Zika and yellow fever. Female mosquitoes will perish, whereas males will procreate and transmit the self-restricting gene to the succeeding generation, ultimately resulting in a decrease in population. Although these diseases are not currently being transmitted in California, the invasive insect has been identified as an escalating threat as their population expands throughout the state. Oxitec CEO Gray Franson states that due to the increasing health risk posed by this mosquito in the United States, they are actively striving to make this technology widely accessible. As part of this effort, they are conducting pilot programs to showcase the effectiveness of the technology in various climate conditions. These programs are crucial in achieving their goal of making the technology available to address the growing health threat. According to Oxitec, the mosquitoes will be equipped with a genetic marker, making it simple for scientists to distinguish them from other mosquitoes in the wild. The company states that the current experiment is an expansion of a previous pilot project approved by the EPA in 2020. Oxitec released 144,000 genetically modified mosquitoes in the Florida Keys during 2021 and also conducted a release in Brazil. They assert that after 13 weeks, this technology was successful in suppressing 95% of the Aedes aegypti population. Mustafa Daboon, an expert in medical and veterinary entomology and the general manager of the Delta Mosquito and Vector Control District, said that it's a clever solution, noting that rather than relying on human intervention to apply pesticides and eliminate these mosquitoes, they are harnessing male mosquitoes to carry out the task on our behalf. It's a battle between nature and nature itself. However, skeptics remain unconvinced about the absolute safety of the mosquitoes. According to Dana Pearls, the program manager for food and technology at Friends of the Earth, there isn't a concept of absolute effectiveness in science. Pearls questions the public's trust in Oxitec's experiment, expressing concern about whether it can guarantee the eradication of genetically engineered female mosquitoes. The question is, how can we be certain of its success? The opponents expressed their concern regarding the female mosquito's exposure to tetracycline, an antibiotic commonly utilized in agriculture. The use of this antibiotic may enable the survival of female mosquitoes. Supporters argue that mosquitoes typically do not venture beyond a 500-foot radius from their place of origin. According to regulations imposed by the EPA, the release of these mosquitoes is prohibited within a 500-meter distance from wastewater treatment facilities, areas where commercial citrus, apple, pear, nectarine, and peach are grown, as well as commercial livestock producers of cattle, poultry, and pigs. As of right now, there's many who are against this, and they've said that we don't know if there will be any side effects. Those against these genetically engineered mosquitoes have said that this is new territory. Nonetheless, skeptics argue that additional testing should be conducted within regulated settings. According to Dr. Robert Gould, the president of San Francisco Bay Physicians for Social Responsibility, genetically modified mosquitoes, once introduced to the environment, cannot be retrieved. Instead of proceeding with an unsupervised and unrestricted genetic experiment, he emphasizes the importance of taking precautionary measures, ensuring transparency in data, and conducting appropriate risk assessments. In recent years, there have been observed instances of marine life, including orcas, swimming closer to shore and even entering shallow waters. This behavior has raised questions and sparked curiosity about why these animals are venturing into new territories. Beginning at the end of May 2023, fishermen and residents living close to the shore have observed pods of orcas swimming towards the shore, with those who've studied the creatures saying that their behavior seems different. One factor that could contribute to the movement of marine life towards land is the impact of human activities on their natural habitats. Human-induced disturbances, such as noise pollution from shipping vessels, offshore construction, and recreational boating, can disrupt the normal behavior and communication patterns of marine animals. In response to these disturbances, some marine species may seek refuge in quieter and more sheltered areas, including nearshore waters. This behavior allows them to avoid the excessive noise and disturbances associated with human activities and find temporary respite. One theory that's been put forward is that the Navy might be carrying out sonar tests. The impact of Navy sonar on marine life, particularly whales, dolphins, and other cetaceans, has been a topic of concern and scientific research for many years. Navy sonar systems emit intense underwater sound waves, which can have significant effects on marine animals, their behavior, and their overall well-being. One of the main concerns regarding Navy sonar is its potential to cause harm to marine mammals. The intense sound waves produced by sonar can disrupt the normal behavior of marine animals, including feeding and communication. Whales and dolphins rely heavily on sound for communication, navigation, and hunting, and exposure to loud sonar signals can disorient them, leading to behavioral changes, including altered migration patterns, strandings, and even physical injuries. For example, studies have shown that beaked whales, which are highly sensitive to sound, have exhibited strong avoidance responses to sonar exposure, leading to mass strandings. Furthermore, research has indicated that Navy sonar can have physiological effects on marine animals. The intense underwater sound can cause hearing loss and damage to the auditory systems of cetaceans. Studies have shown that some species, such as dolphins and killer whales, have suffered from temporary or permanent hearing loss as a result of exposure to sonar. This can have long-lasting consequences for their ability to communicate, navigate, and find food, ultimately affecting their survival in the wild. In response to these concerns, efforts have been made to mitigate the impacts of Navy sonar on marine life. The implementation of environmental impact assessments has become standard practice to evaluate the potential effects of sonar operations on marine animals. These assessments help identify areas of high biological importance and establish mitigation measures. such as avoiding critical habitats or adjusting sonar settings to reduce the intensity and duration of sound emissions. In some cases, real-time monitoring of marine mammal activity is employed, allowing sonar operations to be suspended if animals are detected within a certain range. These measures aim to minimize the impact of sonar on marine life and promote the coexistence of military activities and the preservation of marine ecosystems. Furthermore, technological advancements have been made to develop quieter sonar systems that emit lower intensity sounds, reducing the potential harm to marine animals. Low-frequency active sonar systems, for example, have been modified to emit less intense signals while maintaining their effectiveness in military operations. These advancements represent a step towards balancing the needs of national security with the protection of marine biodiversity. It is important to bear in mind that the issue of Navy sonar and its impact on marine life is complex and multifaceted. While efforts have been made to address the concerns and minimize harm, there is still ongoing research and debate surrounding the long-term effects of sonar on marine ecosystems. Scientists continue to study the impacts of sonar on different species, as well as the cumulative effects of multiple stressors, such as climate change, pollution, and habitat loss, on marine life. According to the newly adopted alternative by the Navy, and given approval by the Fisheries Service in October 2020, it is possible that raucous naval exercises may cause disruptions to the endangered orcas in the region. These orcas rely on sound to hunt salmon and communicate, and they may face up to 51 such disturbances within a year. Advocates for the orcas argue that their endangered population, consisting of only 73 whales in this region, can be negatively impacted by even short interruptions to their regular patterns. Nora Nickham, from the Seattle Aquarium, commented that activities such as eating, breathing, and nursing their calves are of utmost importance, especially for the southern orcas who are currently facing food scarcity. The unavailability of salmon, coupled with noise and disturbance, further complicates their situation. Nora Nickham says that they acknowledge the importance of Navy training and testing, but feel that the Navy has the ability and responsibility to modify such activities to safeguard the highly endangered orcas. According to marine mammal biologist Tim Ragan of Anacortes, the Navy must contribute to the protection of highly endangered species, especially the southern resident orcas during its exercises. He suggests that the Navy should find alternative locations where these exercises can be conducted without harming these species. As of right now, the Navy have said that they're not going to stop their sonar tests, but have admitted that it's been shown to have significant effects on marine life, particularly whales, dolphins, and other cetaceans. The intense sound waves emitted by sonar can disrupt the behavior, communication, and overall well-being of these animals, with potential consequences for their survival. However, efforts have been made to mitigate these impacts through the implementation of environmental assessments, real-time monitoring, and the development of quieter sonar systems. Ongoing research and technological advancements are crucial in striking a balance between national security needs and the protection of marine biodiversity. Ultimately, a collaborative approach involving scientists, policymakers, and military authorities is essential to ensure the sustainable coexistence of naval activities and the conservation of marine ecosystems. Former US President Donald Trump has just sent out a message to the American people, saying that he will obliterate the deep state, drain the swamp, and starve the warmongers. The former president has revealed his strategy to reduce government inefficiency, eradicate the impact of the bureaucratic establishment, and decrease the financial authority of those promoting military actions. He aims to reinstate executive branch impoundment, which he considers to be an essential strategy in reducing inefficiency and eliminating unnecessary expenditures. Impoundment, a power once more comprehensive but now restricted, would necessitate legal actions for the president to regain authority. In 1974, Congress implemented the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act, shifting significant spending oversight to both the House and Senate. Trump desires to combat it. The former president said that for 2 centuries within our governmental framework, there was consensus that the president possessed the constitutional authority to halt superfluous expenditure via a mechanism referred to as impoundment. He further explained that under this provision, if Congress allocated a larger budget than necessary for government operations, the president had the authority to decline the excess funds, opting to return them to the general treasury or potentially reduce taxes. Trump had previously unveiled a strategy to alleviate corruption and confront the deeply rooted federal administrative system. This strategy entails implementing a mandate that necessitates all federal staff members to successfully complete a civil service examination, thereby demonstrating their comprehension of the American Constitution. The term deep state has gained significant traction in contemporary political discourse, often used to describe alleged networks of power operating behind the scenes of a government. The concept of a deep state implies a covert network embedded within the political system, independent of a nation's democratic institutions. These alleged entities, consisting of military officials, intelligence agents, wealthy elites, and public servants, are presumed to control and shape national policy, acting outside of and often against publicly elected officials. The deep state concept is characterized by secrecy, longevity, and immense influence. The historical origin of the deep state concept dates back to the Ottoman Empire, but it was popularized in Turkey during the 1990s. It was initially used to describe alleged alliances between the nation's military, security apparatus, and organized crime. These clandestine structures were thought to wield substantial power, orchestrating coups and controlling significant aspects of Turkish politics. In recent years, the deep state concept has found resonance in other political contexts, particularly in the United States, following its use in political commentary and media. Some theorists suggest that a deep state exists within the US government, citing supposed continuity in foreign and economic policy, despite changes in elected leadership. Critics of the deep state concept argue that it is a tool of theorists, with allegations often lacking concrete evidence. However, proponents maintain that it is a practical political reality, pointing to historical events like the Watergate scandal as demonstrations of the deep state at work. Understanding the deep state in any context requires an appreciation for the complexities and nuances of political power dynamics. It's important to differentiate between the concept of a deep state, a shadowy network acting independently of elected officials, and the reality of bureaucratic inertia. The latter is a recognized feature of democratic governance, where non-elected officials, due to their expertise, experience, and continuity in office, can exert significant influence over policymaking. While elements of a deep state as traditionally defined, such as entrenched bureaucracies, powerful lobbies, and influential groups, are undoubtedly present within many governments, attributing all political outcomes to their machinations oversimplifies the complexity of governance. It dismisses the multiplicity of interests, domestic and international forces, as well as public opinion, that shape policy decisions. Additionally, indiscriminate usage of the term risks undermining trust in democratic institutions. While vigilance against undue concentrations of power is a fundamental aspect of democratic health, the deep state narrative can fuel unwarranted cynicism, theories, and erode faith in public institutions. The deep state concept also serves as a reminder that while democracy champions transparency, not all political power is exercised in the open. Various non-state actors, from corporations to lobbyists, do wield significant influence, often discreetly. Addressing this requires robust institutions, vigilant media, active civil society, and a commitment to transparency and accountability. War is an unfortunate reality of human history, with significant implications on societal, economic, and political structures. Perhaps one of the most tangible and direct impacts is the financial burden it places on nations. The costs of war are staggering and multifaceted, including direct military expenditure, the indirect cost of sustaining a war-ready economy, post-war rebuilding, and veterans' care. One of the largest spenders on war historically has been the United States, especially during the two world wars, the Cold War, the Vietnam War, and the recent conflicts in the Middle East. To provide a sense of scale, according to the US Department of Defense, American spending during World War II peaked at an astonishing $4.1 trillion in 2020. The total expenditure of the Vietnam War was around $1 trillion in today's dollars, while the spending on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001 has exceeded $6 trillion, including future obligations for veterans' care. Similarly, other nations have also committed substantial resources to warfare. For instance, during World War II, Germany's war expenditure was approximately $5.6 trillion, and Japan's was around $2.2 trillion in today's dollars. The vast sums committed to war have profound implications for society and the economy. On the one hand, wartime economies often experience a surge in manufacturing and job creation, such as the economic boom seen in the US during and after World War II. On the other hand, excessive military expenditure can lead to economic instability, inflation, and significant public debt, as witnessed in the US during the Vietnam War and more recently following the Middle East conflicts. Moreover, the opportunity cost of war spending is enormous. Funds channeled into warfare could be directed towards critical domestic priorities like education, healthcare, infrastructure, and environmental conservation. For example, according to the National Priorities Project, US military expenditure in 2020 was around $732 billion, more than the next 10 countries combined. In comparison, federal spending on education was approximately $68 billion, highlighting a stark disparity in allocation of resources. The costs of war also extend beyond the immediate timeframe of conflict. Governments often face substantial post-war expenses, including reconstruction costs, compensation to war victims, and long-term healthcare for veterans. These lingering costs can burden economies for decades, as seen in the extensive veterans' healthcare costs. One of the most potent threats to the continuation of human civilization and life on Earth is the spectre of nuclear warfare. This fear has hung over the world since the dawn of the atomic age during World War II. The catastrophic destructive potential of nuclear weapons, their proliferation, and the geopolitical tensions that could trigger their use represent a daunting challenge to global peace and security. A nuclear weapon is an explosive device that derives its destructive force from nuclear reactions, either fission or a combination of fission and fusion. These reactions release enormous amounts of energy from relatively small amounts of matter. A single nuclear bomb can destroy an entire city. Today, the arsenal of nuclear weapons globally is far more potent and abundant than those early prototypes. As of 2023, it's estimated that there's between 12,500 to 13,000 nuclear warheads worldwide, and these are owned by 9 countries: the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. The first 5 are officially recognized as nuclear weapon states by the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, while the other 4 are not. The destructive potential of these weapons is unthinkable. A large-scale nuclear war could end life on Earth as we know it. The initial blasts would cause widespread destruction, taking out millions of people instantly. The subsequent fallout, a dangerous mix of radioactive particles thrust into the atmosphere, would spread around the globe, causing radiation sickness and loss of life. Moreover, a nuclear war would have devastating environmental consequences, leading to what scientists call a nuclear winter. The smoke from fires caused by nuclear explosions would rise into the upper atmosphere, blocking sunlight, leading to global cooling. Crop failures and famine would follow, threatening all life forms. Another alarming factor is the instability and unpredictability in international relations that could lead to nuclear war, whether by design or accident. The world has come close to nuclear war several times, the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 being the most famous example. Also, the threat of non-state actors acquiring nuclear weapons adds another layer of uncertainty and danger. While the picture painted is stark, the goal is not to inspire fear, but to spur action. Nuclear warfare is a man-made disaster, and it is within our capability to prevent it. Several measures can be taken to reduce this threat. Firstly, disarmament is essential. The world must move towards the goal set out in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, complete disarmament by the nuclear weapon states. The reduction and eventual elimination of nuclear stockpiles is a crucial step towards a safer world. Secondly, strengthening international treaties and institutions is vital The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons are pillars of the global nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. However, these treaties face challenges, including lack of universal adherence and non-compliance. Thirdly, diplomacy and dialogue should be the tools of choice in resolving international conflicts. Tensions between nuclear-armed states should be managed carefully, with communication and understanding. Lastly, public awareness and engagement are essential. A world free of nuclear weapons cannot be achieved without the understanding, commitment, and demand from people worldwide. Public opinion can influence government policy, and a global citizenry aware of the risks of nuclear warfare can push their governments towards disarmament. The potential for nuclear warfare poses one of the most existential threats to human life on Earth. The widespread destruction, long-lasting radiation, and environmental repercussions of nuclear conflict could be catastrophic on a global scale. However, the question persists: what are the chances for human survival? A large-scale nuclear conflict involving hundreds or thousands of these weapons could result in immediate casualties in the hundreds of millions, or even billions. Yet, the initial destruction is only the beginning. The fallout, radioactive particles lofted into the atmosphere, would poison vast areas, contaminating water sources, soil, and causing cancer and other illnesses in surviving populations. Infrastructure would be devastated, disrupting the distribution of food, water, and medical supplies. Even more threatening is the possibility of a nuclear winter. The massive amount of dust and soot sent aloft by nuclear detonations could block sunlight, leading to significant cooling of the Earth's surface. This could result in widespread crop failure and subsequent famine, impacting all life forms, not just humans. Surviving these immediate and long-term effects would be a daunting task. However, survival is a characteristic deeply ingrained in human nature, and there are several factors that could contribute to humanity's perseverance in a post-nuclear world. Firstly, humanity's geographical spread and diversity could contribute to survival. Humans inhabit a wide range of environments across the Earth, and while a nuclear war would undoubtedly affect the entire planet, certain remote areas might be less directly impacted, such as parts of the southern hemisphere, due to prevailing wind patterns and fewer targets for nuclear strikes. In the remote high desert of Utah, near a place known as Skinwalker Ranch, a man named James took a hike through the hills. James describes himself as a curious man. He'd heard the legends of Skinwalker Ranch and the mystical creatures that supposedly roamed there. But he was skeptical, a man who believed only in what he could see or touch. That was until he found himself face to face with the inexplicable. It began like any other day, with the air biting at his face and the soft rustle of the desert wind. James was following his usual trail, one that skirted the infamous ranch, where countless stories of strange occurrences and sightings of otherworldly beings had originated. As he approached a ridge overlooking a dark valley, he suddenly felt a chill, unlike any he had ever experienced. The day had fallen silent, the wind ceased, and the very air seemed to thicken. Then he heard it, a faint whisper, like a raspy voice carried on the wind. He looked down into the valley and saw a shadowy figure moving on all fours, its eyes glowing with a sickly yellow light. James's heart pounded in his chest, but he couldn't look away. He watched as the creature stopped and raised its head, sniffing the air. Its body was lean and twisted, covered with what looked like mottled, rotting skin. Its face was a horrifying amalgamation of human and animal features. Suddenly it stood on its hind legs, its eyes fixed on James. He felt a cold terror grip him as those eyes bore into him, seeming to look right into his soul. It was as if the creature knew him, knew his thoughts, his doubts, his fears. Unable to move, unable to even breathe, James could only watch as the creature began to change. Its body twisted and contorted, its skin stretching and reshaping. The creature was now making its way towards him, its lips curling into a malicious grin. It spoke in a voice that was a distorted echo of James's own. With that, the creature turned and vanished into the darkness, leaving James frozen on the ridge, his mind reeling from what he had just witnessed. He stumbled back to his car and drove home in a daze. The image of that creature, that skinwalker, burned into his mind. He knew now that the legends were true, that there was a world beyond what he could see or touch, a world filled with mysteries and horrors beyond comprehension. Days turned into weeks, and James found himself drawn back to that ridge, night after night, as if the skinwalker had left a part of itself in him. He would stand there, looking into the valley, half hoping, half fearing to see it again, but the creature never returned, and slowly, the terror of that encounter began to fade, becoming a haunting memory. James was left with more questions than answers, a changed man who had peered into the unknown and had been forever marked by it. In the vast expanse of the Uinta Basin in northeastern Utah, there lies a place shrouded in enigma and wonder, Skinwalker Ranch. Also known as Sherman Ranch, this 480-acre property has earned a reputation as one of the most paranormal hotspots in the world, captivating the imaginations of enthusiasts, researchers, and skeptics alike. Its eerie tales of strange phenomena have made it a subject of intense curiosity and debate, attracting countless investigations and becoming a focal point for those seeking to understand the mysteries of the unknown. The legend of Skinwalker Ranch dates back centuries to the native Ute tribe, who considered the land to be cursed. According to tribal lore, the area was inhabited by malevolent shapeshifters, known as skinwalkers, capable of transforming into animals and inflicting harm on humans. With such a sinister backdrop, it's no wonder that the ranch has become a magnet for all things paranormal. The modern era of intrigue surrounding Skinwalker Ranch began in the 1990s when it was purchased by a Las Vegas businessman named Robert Bigelow, founder of the National Institute for Discovery Science. Under Bigelow's ownership, the ranch became a focal point for extensive scientific research and investigations into a wide range of unexplained phenomena. Witnesses have reported a plethora of inexplicable events at the ranch, from mysterious unidentified aircraft sightings and encounters with otherworldly beings, to poltergeist-like activity, crop circles, and unexplained animal explorations. Among the most common sightings are strange lights in the sky, moving erratically and defying conventional explanations. Some have described seeing disc-shaped objects hovering in the distance, while others claim to have witnessed craft vanishing into thin air or submerging into the ground. These accounts have fueled speculation about mysterious visitations. One of the most compelling aspects of Skinwalker Ranch is the high number of witnesses who are credible and experienced, such as law enforcement officers, military personnel, and scientists. Their testimonies lend weight to the idea that something genuinely unusual may be occurring on the property. However, skeptics argue that many of these accounts can be attributed to natural phenomena, misidentifications, or exaggerations. The phenomenon at Skinwalker Ranch also extends beyond the skies, with numerous reports of eerie and unexplained occurrences on the ground. Witnesses have claimed to see shadowy figures lurking in the darkness, hearing disembodied voices, and experiencing feelings of being watched or followed. Some have described encounters with strange, wolf-like creatures, reinforcing the legends of the malevolent skinwalkers. Various scientific investigations have been conducted at the ranch to try and unravel its mysteries. The National Institute for Discovery Science, under Bigelow's direction, spent years collecting data, setting up surveillance equipment, and conducting studies to document and understand the strange occurrences. Critics argue that the lack of publicly available scientific data and the selective release of information have cast doubts on the legitimacy of the research conducted at Skinwalker Ranch. In 2016, the ownership of the ranch changed hands again, with real estate mogul Brandon Fugel acquiring the property. However, Fugel took a more secretive approach, limiting access to the site and keeping a tight lid on ongoing investigations. Brandon Fugel is not just the owner, but also the executive producer of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. This move has only intensified the aura of mystery surrounding the ranch. Deep within the heart of Navajo folklore lies a chilling tale that continues to send shivers down the spines of those who hear it: the legend of the Skinwalker. In the Native American tradition, the Skinwalker is a malevolent witch capable of shape-shifting into animals and harnessing dark powers to inflict harm on others. This haunting legend has endured for generations, serving as a cautionary tale and a source of fear and fascination. According to Navajo beliefs, the Skinwalker is a powerful practitioner of the witchery way, an ancient and forbidden form of magic. It is said that these individuals, usually witches or shamans who have chosen the path of darkness, can transform into any animal of their choosing. From wolves to owls, bears to coyotes, the Skinwalker can assume the form of the animal they desire, granting them supernatural abilities and enabling them to wreak havoc upon their victims. The methods used by a Skinwalker to achieve their shape-shifting abilities are deeply disturbing. Legend has it that they may don the pelts of the animals they wish to become, a process that requires a sinister ritual and unspeakable acts. By wearing the skin of the animal, they are believed to gain not only its physical form, but also its traits and attributes. This transformation allows them to move with stealth and strike fear into the hearts of those who dare cross their path. The powers of a Skinwalker extend beyond shape-shifting. They are believed to possess a range of dark abilities. Some tales describe them as being able to control the minds of their victims, causing them to fall ill or suffer from unexplainable ailments. Others speak of their ability to curse people, livestock or crops, bringing misfortune and despair to those who incur their wrath. The origins of the Skinwalker legend are rooted in a mix of cultural beliefs and historical events. The concept of shape-shifting is prevalent in numerous indigenous cultures around the world, often linked to spiritual practices and a deep connection to nature. For the Navajo, the concept of witchcraft and witches has been a part of their traditions for centuries, and stories of malevolent practitioners have been passed down through generations. The fear of encountering a Skinwalker has been deeply ingrained in Navajo culture, leading to various precautions and rituals to protect against their malevolence. Navajo people avoid discussing Skinwalkers at night, believing that speaking their name can attract their attention. Additionally, some believe that the power of the Skinwalker lies in their eyes, and meeting their gaze can be a dangerous and even deadly encounter. It is important to note that the Skinwalker legend is deeply respected within the Navajo community, and many individuals are reluctant to speak openly about it with outsiders. The legend is treated with reverence, and sharing stories about Skinwalkers is often considered taboo, reinforcing the belief in their potency and power. In recent years, the legend of the Skinwalker has transcended traditional storytelling and found its way into contemporary culture. The allure of the supernatural and the mysterious has led to various books, movies, and documentaries exploring the myth and its origins. However, it is crucial to approach the subject with sensitivity and respect, recognizing its cultural significance and understanding that the legend holds deep meaning for the Navajo people.
All across the world, there are reports of impossible-to-explain flying disc-shaped aircraft that demonstrate capabilities that violate all known laws of physics and appear to be technologically far too advanced to be explained in the modern day. In fact, there are more than 8,000 annual cases of sightings of such craft every single year, with thousands more going unreported for fear of ridicule. These sightings, however, are not the most extraordinary stories surrounding these impossible-to-explain craft, but rather the peculiar forms of life that seem to inhabit them. Often described as humanoid, the pilots of these craft vary from all shapes, sizes, species, and behaviors, from small 3-foot-tall little grey men to 10-foot-tall Sasquatch-like creatures to lanky 7-foot-tall insect-like creatures that look eerily similar to the praying mantis. Although UFO and alien enthusiasts have often been quick to proclaim that such sightings and encounters are evidence of extraterrestrial life visiting from faraway planets and solar systems, there appears to be a profound amount of evidence that has been growing over the past several decades, gathered by independent research efforts on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, that has started to chip away at these claims and posited a far more terrifying theory. Perhaps these sightings, these craft, and these extraterrestrial sightings are not extraterrestrial at all, but a matter of the interdimensional. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be going over the mystery and evidence gathered at the Skinwalker Ranch and the possible interdimensional technology behind it that has led to mass visitation of our little blue planet. Thank you for watching. Yintah Basin is no stranger to the supernatural, paranormal, or extraterrestrial. In fact, the area is so familiar with the unexplainable that it led to a joint investigation between the privately owned company Bigelow Aerospace and the United States government's military, the Department of Defense. Over a period of about 20 years, a joint investigation was made to uncover the cause of the paranormal, supernatural, and extraterrestrial sightings made across the Yintah Basin and determine whether or not the cause was a threat to national security. This led to the purchasing of a piece of land that would later be referred to as the Skinwalker Ranch, due to the region's massive amount of sightings of a terrifyingly humanoid monster known as the Skinwalker. In his book titled The Hunt for Skinwalker Ranch, co-author George Knapp discusses how the ranch, previously owned by a family known as the Gorman family, appeared to be a focal point of the unexplainable activity, featuring anything from sightings of little grey aliens, Bigfoot, skinwalkers, direwolves, unidentified flying objects, and poltergeist activity. Interestingly enough, over the 20 years of investigation, a surprising amount of evidence came forward that would help to explain the previously believed paranormal causes into something far more evident of advanced technologies. As is common with alien abduction stories, many abductees will often claim that evidence of an abduction having taken place is experiencing a dramatic sudden loss of time. A number of witnesses residing within the Yintah Basin have claimed to have suddenly been walking through their house at night only to find themselves staring at the clock and noticing huge chunks of time missing from their memory, with others claiming that while they had been driving, they found themselves parked at the side of the road, realizing that they must have been asleep for several hours. What kind of advanced technology, if any, could cause such sudden lapses in time and awareness? During the NIDS's investigation, researchers gathered the witness testimony of the Gorman family, the family that used to reside at the Skinwalker Ranch, and the troubles they faced with the ongoing paranormal and supernatural activity they witnessed. In one such story, the Gormans talked about how their missing cattle had been a devastating blow to their finances and how their last ability to make a profit rested with 4 2,000-pound bulls in an iron-gated pen resting a few hundred yards from their home. Almost as if listening in on the conversation, when the couple reached the bull pens, they noticed that all 4 bulls were missing from their locked pens with no evidence of destruction. After contacting the researchers, the bulls were found crammed into a locked and closed trailer with no way of entering or exiting, with all 4 of the bulls standing side by side in a perfectly docile mood, seemingly stuck in a hypnotic trance. When the researchers entered the trailer in an attempt to coax the bulls back into the bullpen, almost as if a sudden switch had been flipped, the bulls snapped out of their hypnotic trance and began kicking and breaking the trailer apart in a terrible fit of rage. The researchers were not only unable to explain how the bulls entered inside the trailer, they were unable to explain the strange display of sudden behavior shifts in the bulls that allowed them to have been moved into the trailer in a docile state before the arrival of the team. Despite this lack of explanation from the researchers, however, Unexplained Mysteries proposes a theory as to the cause of the bulls' sudden behavioral shift. Back in 1964, the neurological researcher Jose Manuel Rodriguez Delgado, later referred to as the pioneer of electrical brain stimulation, conducted a dramatically demonstrated research test that could prove the viability and theory that electrical brain stimulation, when applied in controlled manners, could not only manipulate an organism's muscle movements and contractions, but could more than influence the creature's entire behavior as well. Known as the stymorceiver, Delgado invented a small device that could be implanted into the brain of an animal and used to give remote-controlled electrical stimulation to specific parts of the brain for controlled behavior. After conducting brain surgery to impact his electrode into the skull of a Spanish bull, Lucero of Cordoba, Spain, Delgado got into the bullfighting ring with the creature surrounded by a crowd of onlookers and waited for the bull to charge him. When it did, Delgado activated his remote-controlled electrode only a few meters from being hit by the bull, which instantly caused the raging bull to come to an immediate halt. Almost in an exact instant, the bull seemed to lose all of its aggression and violence and laid down in a calm and relaxed demeanor. Just like the docile behavior of the caged bulls on the Skinwalker Ranch, Delgado's bull seemed to become completely oblivious to the presence of Delgado and went into a hypnotic, dulled state. Could electrical brain stimulation have been the cause for the Skinwalker Ranch bulls suddenly becoming docile and being led into a tight and compacted trailer? Oddly enough, the NIDS's research group found that the iron gate that fenced the bulls in were suddenly completely magnetized around the area. The magnetization of iron was most likely caused from a powerful electromagnetic field in the region of unknown origin. This heavily implies, however, that only moments before the bull's strange personality shift, there was a powerful electromagnetic field that suddenly arose and caused the bulls to undergo a specified and controlled behavior. Rather than the paranormal ability of a poltergeist, a conscious intelligence with advanced technologies capable of creating strong electromagnetic fields could have used such technology to apply specific electrical brain stimulation and lead to the docile hypnosis and control of the Skinwalker bulls, just like Delgado's experiments demonstrated more than 60 years ago. Could it be that when individuals experience a sudden loss of time and undergo hypnotic trances shortly before and after an alien abduction event, they could be the victim of an impossible-to-explain electrical brain stimulation caused via a powerful but direct electromagnetic weapon used by otherworldly beings? Interestingly enough, another recorded story from the Skinwalker Ranch researchers could prove to be a profound piece of supporting evidence for this claim.